a new day dawning. The time is at hand where the glory of the Lord will be revealed to every man. Open the door. Open the door. Open the door. And let the King of Glory in. Open the door. Open the door. Open the door. And let the King of Glory in.
Oh, let the King of Glory in. Open up the door. Starts right now. So fling wide you heavenly gates and prepare the way of the risen Lord. The Apostle John was on the Isle of Patmos. He was in prison for the testimony of Jesus Christ. And he heard a sound behind him. He said, behold, I looked. There was a door standing open in heaven. And I heard a voice which was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, come up here, and I will show you the things which must take place. That's what we need, my friends. The heavenly perspective of the things that are going on in the world around us. The things that the Word of God foretold us would come to pass. Those things which must take place. Those things which are taking place even now. That is what this broadcast is all about. Discussing the issues of the day. Discerning the times in which we live. From a biblical perspective and worldview. Good afternoon, everybody. Andy White here. What you are about to hear is the fusion of heart, mind, and soul. And I want to welcome everybody from all across the fruited plain, as always, and all around the spherical globe. That means it's round. Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Open Up the Doors. And I'm in a little bit of a silly mood today, which is a good thing because I got a lot of serious stuff to be talking about. But I am streaming live over on my YouTube channel. Go on over there to YouTube. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know where you're listening from. Start a conversation over there. If you've never been over there, just look up Andy White. Open Up the Doors in your YouTube, on your YouTube or your Google browser. And you'll find it. You will find us. And please, again, share this YouTube stream into your platforms, whether you're on Gab or MeWe or Parler or whatever your platform might be. If you're on Facebook, share this URL. Copy the URL off of the YouTube live stream and invite people here to open up the doors. You can also follow me. I am on Parler at AJ White 777 if you'd like to connect with me over there on Parler as well. If you'd like to email me any questions, there might be a lot of questions after this broadcast today. You can email me at ajwhite777 at icloud.com. It's ajwhite777 at icloud.com. We are streaming across the internet. We are streaming all around the fruited plain and all around the spherical globe, right here from the Faith FM studios. But if you are outside of the broadcast, the Faith FM broadcast area, the best way to listen to Faith FM 24/7 would be to download the free app. The app, as I said, is absolutely free. We have the app for the Android platform, for the Apple platform, and get the app. It's a great way to listen to Faith FM, all the great programming that is here on the station 24/7. All right, I think that covers my preliminaries, so I want to get to it. Last week, I had a special guest on, John Halla, and if you missed that, go back and listen to it. We have it on my YouTube channel. We also have it on Rumble, but I'll get to that later. But anyway, let me get on with this here. Last week, in my conversation with John Halla, he had mentioned in passing during the course of our conversations the several possibilities about where Mystery Babylon of Revelation 17:18 might be located. And one of the places he mentioned was Neom. Now, a lot of people don't really, there's a lot of people, some of us who are paying attention know all about Neom, but there's a lot of people who really never even heard of Neom. I mentioned it to somebody, they said, what's Neom? Never even heard of it. So I want to share with you in this broadcast, this is very important. I want to share with you in this broadcast why, in my guesstimated, but nevertheless highly esteemed opinion, Neom might just be the best candidate to being Mystery Babylon. And I know there's a lot of theories out there and there's a lot of different opinions, but I'm going to share in this broadcast about Neom to get it on your radar. And like I said, a lot of people never even heard of it, but it's a big deal. Now, let me say this right up at the front end of this broadcast. By sharing this information and looking at the evidence of why I think Neom is a very good candidate for the fulfillment of Revelation 17:18, I want to say this as somewhat of a caveat, somewhat of a disclaimer. In going over this, I'm not definitely saying it is. I don't want people going around, well, Andy White believes Neom is absolutely Mystery Babylon. I'm not saying that. Nothing is absolute except Jesus is coming back. Death, taxes, and Jesus is coming back. But I'm simply going to lay out the evidence that suggests it's a possibility to seriously consider, folks. And I put a question mark in the title because I'm not making declarations or drawing absolute conclusions, but I am asking the questions and pondering the evidence. This broadcast titled, Is Neom the City of the Great Reset, Mystery Babylon? Is it? It's a question. I'm asking the question. I'm raising the possibility. So, but I'm going to begin here to cover it from the ground up, so to speak, because again, I said, a lot of people don't even know what Neom is. I'm calling Neom the City of the Great Reset. There's so much here that dovetails together, as you'll hear as this broadcast progresses. Neom, the City of the Great Reset. The name Neom essentially means new future. It's a word that was put together sort of artificially, neo coming from the Latin for new, and the M is for the Arabic word for future. So Neom means essentially, and what they want it to mean, what the idea they want to convey in this mega city that's being built is new future. And Neom is being constructed and it's being built in the Tabuk province of northwestern Saudi Arabia. It's got the Gulf of Aqaba on its west coast and the Red Sea on its southern coast, so that it's a city that sits on many waters. I'm laying that out that way on purpose. It's a city that's being built that sits on many waters. Neom's land area, when it's fully implemented and fully completed, the proposed land area is over 10,230 square miles, which is almost exactly the same square mileage. To put this into your mind's eye, that's about the size of the state of Massachusetts, or it's about the size of the country of Belgium. So why are you calling it a city? Well, because they're calling it a mega city. Neom will be 33 times the size of New York City. So it would be really more accurate to say that Neom will be more than just a city, but a city-state, which, by the way, is exactly what ancient Babylon the Great was. Neom's planned landmass, again, when it's fully implemented, will extend across the Egyptian and Jordanian borders, rendering Neom the first private economic zone to span 3 countries. And the development of this transnational cooperation has already begun. A few years ago, Egypt and Saudi Arabia signed a number of agreements to develop, listen to this, to develop Egyptian land in South Sinai with a total area of 1,000 square kilometers within the new city of Neom. I mean, since when did you ever hear of a sovereign nation handing over some land to be incorporated into the city of another nation? But you see, Neom is going to be ostensibly separated from the Saudi government. That remains to be seen, but this is the plan. I'm just laying out the blueprints and the plans and the statements that they have made. You can find all of this, by the way, if you go on over to the official Neom website. It's chock full of incredible stuff, really. But King Salman, the king, not Mohammed bin Salman, but we're going to talk about him a lot in a few minutes. But his daddy, the king, King Salman of Saudi Arabia announced with Egypt's President El-Sisi just about a year or two ago an agreement to build a bridge between the two countries, between Saudi Arabia and Egypt, by way of some islands. These islands in between in the Gulf of Aqaba have been in dispute for many years, but now they've signed an agreement to build a bridge connecting, as I said a moment ago, the Sinai Peninsula with Neom, which is in Saudi Arabia. The bridge will be called the King Salman bin Abdulaziz Bridge. The causeway will link Neom to the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh, which is a major tourist resort there. So they're connecting these big tourist attraction centers through this Saudi Egyptian causeway across the it's right at the bottom. It's almost at the beginning of the Red Sea, where the Gulf of Aqaba empties into the Red Sea. And this is an important point, by the way. This new bridge and causeway will provide an alternative Hajj route. The Hajj is the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina that Muslims must take at least once in their lifetime. Neom, by the way, is going to be about 1,000 kilometers from Mecca and Medina, the two holiest sites in all of Islam. So this bridge and this causeway will provide an alternative Hajj route, and it is expected to serve 1 million people and pilgrims to Mecca, over 1 million annually. So you're going to have so through this mega city, which they're developing into becoming a major economic city in the world. I'll get to that in a minute. They are purposefully also utilizing it for Islamic pilgrimage, as I just said. You know, as they say in real estate, location, location, location. Location, location, location. That's a big term in real estate. But by the way, it's also very important in biblical prophecy. In Revelation 17:18, where we really read about Mystery Babylon, it says in Revelation 17:15, the waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. You go on over to the Neom website, and I pulled this quote from one of the many articles they have there. Quote, Neom is situated on one of the world's most prominent economic arteries. Its strategic location will also facilitate the zone's rapid emergence as a global hub that connects Asia, Europe, and Africa. When I read that again, the words rapid emergence jumped at me. I've been sharing with you for the last several weeks about how the last days scenario, the last days program, once the Lord breaks open the beginning of the 7 seals, the first seal, the second seal, as the Lord begins to break open those seals, the events of Revelation, the Bible tells us, happens quickly, happens rapidly. And all of the events, when a woman is about to give birth, her birth pangs increase, and the birth pangs become quicker and quicker in rapid succession until the final birth. And this is all coming together, folks. I'm not talking about the birth of the Antichrist kingdom, which is part of the labor pains, but the birth of the kingdom of God, the millennium. I should probably word it that way. The return of Jesus Christ, which he himself compared to a woman in labor. It's happening, and it's happening with a more and more rapid emergence. So again, I like this terminology here. The Lord has been just putting these words rapidly and quickly in front of my eyes for several weeks now. These things are happening fast. One of the things that John Haller mentioned last week is that there are some people who believe that literal Babylon will be rebuilt over there in Iraq. But you know what? There's really no movement to do that. I know there are people who believe that. I don't buy into that theory at all for a lot of reasons. It doesn't fit. You got to understand that that's why I brought up the point of location, location, location. Revelation 17:18 is very, very specific about the description of Mystery Babylon. It's got to fit a perfect description. So let me go on with Neom more, because your eyes are gonna bug out of your head as I share some of this stuff here. But economically, again, in the plans, Neom will focus on industries, including energy and water, biotechnology, food, advanced manufacturing, and entertainment. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has huge dreams for the city. But they're not just floating around in his head. They've already begun the construction. These things are already happening. The plan is to make Neom a world economic center. Okay, go back and read Revelation 18 about Mystery Babylon being a world economic center. Prince Mohammed bin Salman wants to make Neom a world entertainment center. That's interesting as well. If you go over to the Neom website, it's really being plugged in a lot of ways right now as a vacation destination. The website states that Neom has great climate. It's got this great terrain. It's in the mountains, by the way. It's in the Sierra mountain range. You know, Mount Sierra in the Bible. It's in that mountain range. The location of the Neom project is exclusive, according to the website. It's cooler than the encircling areas. You think about the desert, you think about the wilderness, you're saying, man, it's got to be hot. Who wants to go out into the wilderness? But because the mountains are blocking one side along the waterfronts, you've got the ocean breezes, and it's an incredible climate. That's why right on the other side of the Gulf of Aqaba, you got that Egyptian site, Sham al-Sharif. So again, they want to go into this destination. You know, you want to have a destination wedding. We're going to go to Neom. You know, that's a big thing these days. Destination weddings. The development is as a result. And I just shared all that about how the mountains protect from some of the harsher desert temperatures with the sea. They're boasting about the amazing terraces within the mountains. They're boasting about the beaches. I'm just reading off the website. Gorgeous beaches stretching over 460 kilometers of lineation and lots of pristine islands. High mountains at an associate altitude of up to 2,500 meters high. The Gulf of Aqaba, and also the sea, in line with snow peaks within the winter. So they want a ski resort as well. Again, so they're just trying to attract the economy of the world, the entertainment center, the vacation center of the world. Now, I just read an article that was in a CNN report just last week. Now, actually, the CNN report itself was pretty much just really ridiculing and blasting the Saudis because they do use slave labor. So the report on the building of Neom was a negative report about what the Saudis are doing, how they get these indentured servants, and the city is being built on the backs of slaves. You know, that's CNN's modus operandi to begin with. Everything is built upon the backs of slaves. To whatever degree that might be a legitimate concern, that was the real gist of the article. But I pulled one quote out of it, again, because it plays into the description of what Neom is being built as. From the CNN report, quote, built from scratch. This just gets to me again. It's just, these things are happening. It's not some old existing, a city with a history. It's built from scratch. The Bible called it Mystery Babylon, something that was hidden, something that wasn't going to be revealed until its due time. CNN, let me get back to this quote here. Built from scratch, Neom will purportedly be powered by clean energy, run by artificial intelligence, enhanced by machine learning, serviced by robot maids and flying taxis, and illuminated every night by a giant artificial moon. That's all true. I'm telling you, it's all true. Neom will have its own, as a city-state, will have its own tax and labor laws. It's supposed to be an autonomous system separated from Saudi Arabia. Again, that's the plan, because Saudi Arabia is a very restrictive and rigid Islamic republic. But Neom is not going to be anything like the Islamic Republic of Saudi Arabia, so they want to isolate it. Interesting. In the mind of a Muslim, Neom is going to be a harlot to their religion. I'm just throwing that out there ahead of time. I'm going to get to that a little bit later in the broadcast. And I hope I don't run out of time because I got a lot here. But according to the CEO of Neom, Nadim al-Nassar, quote, Neom is meant to be a model where this region will be a semi-independent free zone. It will have its own laws, it will have its own regulations, and its own authority as a semi-government. On the website, Neom is an accelerator of human progress and a vision of what a new future, that's what Neom means, might look like. It is a region in northwest Saudi Arabia on the Red Sea being built from the ground up as a living laboratory. A place where entrepreneurship will chart the course for this new future. It will be a destination and a home for people who dream big and want to be part of building a new model for exceptional livability, creating thriving businesses, and reinventing environmental conservation. Neom will be the home and workplace to more than 1 million residents from around the world. It will include towns and cities, ports and enterprise zones, research centers, sports and entertainment venues, and tourist destination. It will be a hub for innovation. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. This special region, if I could put it in that kind of terminology, is intended to exceed all the major cities of the world that exist today. Neom is a vision of what the future could be. Again, I'm reading from their website. It's an attempt to do something that's never been done before. And it's coming at a time when the world needs fresh thinking and new solutions. Put simply, Neom will not only be a destination, but a home for people who dream big and who want to be part of building a new model for sustainable living. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to cut it off right there for a few minutes. I'm going to come back to this because I got a lot more on my plate to get to, and I really want to get to some meaty stuff. But I'm going to go to a break right now. Take a deep breath. I just wanted to lay out some of the foundational elements of what Neom is for those who aren't familiar with it, as I said. But stick around, folks. I'll be right back. Here's a tune by Cutlass called You Save Me. It's a great tune. But I'll be back in about 3 minutes. Grab a cup of water, grab a cup of coffee, and stick around. To my Cutlass called You Save Me. Welcome back. Andy White here. You are listening to Open Up the Doors, Integrity in Broadcasting here on Faith FM, WEGB 90.7, WEGB 90.7, 93.3 Net Peak. I'm sorry, WEGQ 91.7 in Quag. I'm just so concentrated on getting back to what I want to get to because I got so much to get to. But I laid out in the first block just what the plans are for this mega city, this city-state that they're constructing in western Saudi Arabia called Neom. But how does Neom intersect and fit into the Great Reset agenda? Because I've also dubbed it Neom the city of the Great Reset, and that's a play. That's I'm going to tell you right off the bat, that's a play on words because I think of Mount Zion being the city of the great king. You know, we read about in the Psalms how beautiful on the north, on the sides of the north is Mount Zion, the city of the great king. And Neom is like the exact opposite. It's a new Tower of Babel. I'll get to that in a moment. But how does it fit into the Great Reset agenda? Because it really does. Neom is planned to be a completely smart city, so to speak. They're going to use smart city technologies. It's planned to be the most technologically advanced mega city on the planet. And I got news for you. Mohammed bin Salman is by far and away He is by far and away, with his construction of Neom, ahead of the curve. He really is, regarding the 2030 agenda of the UN and the goals of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. Isn't it funny? The Saudi agenda for Neom and for Saudi Arabia is called Vision 2030. The same thing as the UN, same thing as the World Economic Forum. Well, actually, the World Economic Forum is called the Great Reset, but it's part of the 2030 agenda. In Saudi Arabia, it's called Vision 2030. Everyone has an agenda. The UN has an agenda. The World Economic Forum has an agenda. And MBS has an agenda as well. And Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030 is aimed at a lot of things, really, but it's mainly aimed at ending Saudi Arabia's dependence on oil and transforming Saudi Arabia into a global investment power and making Neom. You really want to know what's on MBS's mind, so to speak? MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, wants to make Neom the crown jewel of the Great Reset. It's all about imagery, folks. So I mentioned location in the first block. It's all about imagery. Back in January, they did the World Economic Forum did a Great Reset Zoom conference in January, and Mohammed bin Salman set up his Zoom meeting out in the middle of the desert. I wish I could show you these pictures. The Daily Mail in Britain put out a whole host of pictures of Mohammed bin Salman. He had set up his royal tents on these magnificently expensive Persian rugs, and he's sitting. This picture right now, I'm looking right at it. He's out in the desert. There's these beautiful rock formations behind him, and this is where he used this scenery. He used this location to address the World Economic Forum because he was making a plug for Neom. But when I saw this picture, which I just briefly described to you, it's a picture of Mohammed bin Salman sitting at a computer desk or just a desk with his hand is on a mouse. He's sitting on these scarlet Persian rugs. And I have to tell you, when I saw this picture, my mind immediately jumped to Revelation 17:3, where John writes, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. Now, of course, this isn't a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. It's Mohammed bin Salman. But he is sitting on a chair on scarlet rugs. The imagery just hit me. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that's how it hit me when I saw it. I'm not, going to put more into it than what's there. It just reminded me of the scripture. Because, again, he's doing the Zoom call, and he's promoting Neom, and he was hawking the World Economic Forum. He was basically hawking them for $6 trillion in investments. He's trying to get people to invest in building the city, invest in everything they want to do there. And he's hawking it at the Great Reset Zoom meeting, as I said, because, again, his intention, he wants it to be the quintessential Great Reset city, a smart city, a zero carbon, no cars, no streets, a futuristic city is what he's aiming to do, a zero carbon city. And within the city is going to be, which one of the things he began to promote back in January was within Neom. They've already begun to build a city called the Line. It's like a line in the sand, if you will. And you might say, why is he calling it the Line? Well, the Line is going to be a city that's going to be it's going to be narrow. It's going to be about 100 miles long, 170 kilometers. That's going to basically traverse right across from one end of Neom to the other. And I have to tell you, it really, in a lot of ways, blew my mind because I had not heard about this aspect of Neom until January. But back in January, February, and March, the Neom Foundation or corporation, whatever they call themselves, they started to run ads on cable news networks. And I was sitting there one day watching Fox News, and all of a sudden, an ad, a television commercial came up promoting Neom and promoting this mega city and promoting the line, which is almost going to be like the backbone, if you will, the backbone of the structure. And I couldn't believe there was actually a TV commercial. I'm going to pull the clip up.
Contemporary cities couldn't cope with growth. The contemporary city needs a full redesign. What if we removed cars? What if we got rid of streets? What if we innovated in the public space? What if we built around nature instead of over it? What if everything you needed was always a 5-minute walk away? What if invisible technology generates carefree and open urban space? What if sustainability was not a goal, but a given? What if we replace outdated urban services with new services driven by artificial intelligence? What if we built the line? A 170-kilometer revolution in urban living. Protecting the Earth's most stunning nature while creating unmatched livability. A home to all of us. Welcome to the line. Neom.
When I saw that commercial, it blew my mind because, I mean, they're being very intentional with this. Welcome to the line. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on with this, by the way. When you watch the video, that was a TV commercial. There's a video attached to it, of course. They're going to preserve nature. We're going to build around nature. They're actually literally building a city right through the mountain range. They've got to cut through the mountains. So they're actually being a little bit, not a little bit, they're being grandiose in the hypocrisy at the same time. Nevertheless, this is the plan. And nevertheless, when you listen to that TV commercial, it's got all the words of the Great Reset in it. Sustainability. It's all the green agenda. We're going to get rid of cars. We're going to have a zero carbon emissions. And again, go over to the Neom website and you will see the videos. You'll see the plans of how they plan on attempting this. The line is going to be a subset of mini modular cities for over 100 miles, as that commercial just said. And, I mean, honestly, folks, what they're trying to build, in my estimation, is a modern-day Tower of Babel. When I listen to all of this, it reminds me, and I am jumping ahead of where I wanted to go with this a little bit, but for the sake of time, I'm going to throw this out there right now. It makes me wonder, well, you know what? I'm going to save that. Because that's going to go somewhere else. But they're essentially, you need to understand this, what they are essentially building is a modern-day Babylon. Babylon the Great was considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And they want to top that. That's in their mind. That's in their egomaniacal mindset. And it's impossible to lay out every detail in this short broadcast about what they want to do. But it's clear that Mohammed bin Salman wants to make the city unlike anything that's ever existed on earth before. And despite the skeptics and despite the critics, it's more than just a fantasy. It's under construction now. The airport is finished. They've already built a luxurious palace for the Saudi royal family. There's already high-end ritzy hotels along the shorelines. They're already built. The Saudi government has already switched to making Neom the go-to location for government meetings and international visits. This is very important. King Salman now holds his cabinet meetings in Neom, even though the capital city of Saudi Arabia is in Riyadh. When Mike Pompeo was Secretary of State. He flew over to have a meeting with his Saudi counterparts in Neom. Neom was the first location. I'm sorry, Neom was the location of the first ever meeting between Netanyahu, when Benjamin Netanyahu was Israeli prime minister, and they kept that a secret. There was denials all over the place that Netanyahu had met with the royal family, that Netanyahu had met with Mohammed bin Salman, but he did, and they've got the flight records. It was a secret meeting. It was reported in the Jerusalem Post. It was reported in Al Jazeera. Let me quote out of the Jerusalem Post from the meeting from last November. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and MBS, the Saudi Crown Prince is known, secretly met in Neom, a planned futuristic Saudi city on the Red Sea, last November. That's from the Jerusalem Post. Al Jazeera had this. I pulled this out of Al Jazeera. Benjamin Netanyahu met MBS and Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State in Saudi Arabia. Reports say Netanyahu flew to Saudi Arabia for a clandestine meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince and the U.S. Secretary of State. According to the Israeli daily Haaretz, aviation tracking data showed that a private jet had made a brief trip from Tel Aviv to Neom, where MBS and Pompeo had a scheduled meeting on Sunday. Now, this is going back last November. Before it returned to Israel they were tracking the flight data. And the jet that was used, according to the Israeli newspaper, is the same private plane Netanyahu took several times for his visits to Russia, to visit Russian President Vladimir Putin. This past week, a Saudi newspaper headline, this was the headline: Neom, an incredible new destination in Saudi geopolitics. I'm bringing all this up to show you folks, this isn't just a fantasy. A lot of people talk about a lot of things they want to do. They're actually doing this, and they've already begun to do it. They've already constructed it. It's already happening. From the Saudi newspaper, it said this: Neom, which is tipped as the jewel of the giant Saudi projects within the framework of the kingdom's new transformation, has begun to take its real place in the headlines of news in the course of political events that were hitherto held only in the major cities like Riyadh in the kingdom. The first visit of Oman's Sultan Haitham bin Tariq to Saudi Arabia shed more light on the promising city of Neom. So again, the Sultan of Oman met with MBS in the city of Neom. Again, the Saudi newspaper goes on to say, the squares and the roads of the Dream City were decorated with the flags of Saudi Arabia and Oman on the occasion of the visit of Sultan Haitham, whatever his name is. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman also accompanied Sultan Haitham during his tour of the Neom Center for Knowledge Enrichment, which showcases the advancements and the latest developments in the city project and its diverse sectors. At the end of his visit to the center, Sultan Haitham wrote in the register, you know those guest registers that you write, you go to a funeral, you sign your name in, or you go to a wedding, you sign your name in the guest register. Well, this is what he wrote in the guest register after his visit to Neom. Neom will have an economic standing in the world as planned. Folks, we read in Revelation 18, verse 3, for all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. Everything that's is being planned out for Neom. When you go down item by item, it becomes very interesting. I'm going to take another break, and I'll come back with more. Stick around. Here's Jordan Feliz with a tune called The River.
I know a place where we can go to lay the troubles down, eating your soul.
The fusion of Heart, Mind, and Soul. This is Open Up the Doors with Andy White here on Faith FM, WEGD 90.7, 93.3 in that peak, WEGQ 91.7 in Quag. Praise God, everybody. Hope you're having a great day today. Thanks for joining in to this week's edition of Open Up the Doors. I am streaming live on my YouTube channel. If you've never subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go on over there. Just look up Andy White, open up the doors, hit the subscription button, hit the little bell next to the button, and you'll be notified of when we do these live radio shows, as well as other things I might stream live from time to time. I also upload our videos to Rumble. You can find these videos on Rumble if you don't want to use YouTube. A lot of people are fleeing from YouTube or being kicked off of YouTube. But we are on Rumble. Same thing, AJ White 777. If you want to share the Rumble versions around rather than the YouTube versions, you can find these videos on our Rumble channel. I'm also on another social networking platform called Connect Zing that I would like for you to check out. You can follow me, friend me, join the Connect Zing Open Up the Doors group page. This Connect Zing operates much like, environmentally, I should say. It operates much like Facebook environmentally, nothing like Facebook as far as the philosophy. It's a free speech zone. There's no trolling. There's no ads. There's no flagged content. Check out connectzing.com and join the Open Up the Doors Facebook page over there and join in all the fun. Post over there on the group page. It works just like the group pages on Facebook. So I would love to connect with you over at Connect Zing. All right, I want to get back to this because I can only really touch upon this, folks. Really just the tip of the iceberg. Is a huge, huge topic. And I'm thinking as I'm doing the broadcast, I'm probably going to have to do a follow-up to this broadcast, though it won't be next week, because next week, by way of a program note, we're going to be having a guest visitor calling in from Australia. Brother Daniel Seckham will be on the broadcast next week. But let me get back to this right now. I want to read to you this portion, which is very pertinent to everything where I'm heading with this, out of Revelation 17. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Here is the question. Could Neom possibly be Mystery Babylon in the making? And as I said at the top of the broadcast, I think one can make a good argument for it. Ancient Babylon was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And when you look at the plans and the visions for Neom, it could be said that they are looking to build a modern-day 8th wonder of the world. But is it a pipe dream? It certainly has its skeptics and its scoffers, for sure. Some are doubtful the Saudis can pull this off and bring it to fruition. Calling it an ambitious vision would be an understatement. But Saudi Arabia expects to complete Neom's first section by 2025. And like I said, the airport's already done. The royal palaces are already done. But here's the pertinent question. Does Neom fit the biblical description of Mystery Babylon? Now again, I can't say and won't say that Neom is or will be Mystery Babylon. But it's a fascinating possibility to consider. We know from Revelation 17 that Mystery Babylon is a port city with an opulent and luxurious economy. We know that John was taken into the wilderness to see Mystery Babylon, so we know it's also a wilderness city. And we know that the woman sits on 7 mountains. Neom will include all of that. As I said earlier in the broadcast, it's going to sit on the Mount Sair mountain range. If Mohammed bin Salman succeeds in building and making Neom all that he imagines it to be, it would contain all the descriptions given in the Bible of Mystery Babylon. It will be a city that's sprung up in the desert. It will be a city that sits on many waters. It will be an international city of many nations. It will be an economic center and a playground for all the rich and the merchants of the world. And all of this is the brainchild of a singular, megalomaniacal individual named Mohammed bin Salman. I was thinking about this very much the other day. Just as the original Tower of Babel and subsequently the original city of Babylon had been built by Nimrod. Is MBS a modern-day Nimrod, building a new Babylon? Is this shades of Nimrod? Never underestimate the hubris of a monarch, my friends. A monarch with near absolute power can never, ever be underestimated. I mentioned a moment ago that the Bible calls Mount Zion and Jerusalem the city of the great king. It's from where Messiah Jesus will govern the earth from when he returns. But conversely, by way of counterfeit and by being the polar opposite of the truth, Mystery Babylon will be perhaps initially the city of the Antichrist. And let me interject something right here, because I know somebody will immediately think, well, wait, isn't Jerusalem where the Antichrist will reign from? No, that's a misunderstanding. He will, of course, according to Scripture, conquer Jerusalem and then set up the abomination of desolation in the temple of God. But before he conquers Jerusalem, he will already have a kingdom and a capital city established. He will have a capital city from which his government will extend. But when he does enter into Jerusalem to conquer it and set up the abomination of desolation in the temple, it will be then that he will declare himself the conquering caliph, which is what all Islamic sultans have done throughout history upon their victories. But this Antichrist Caliph Sultan will declare himself the ruler over all things in heaven and in earth, and he will boast great things of himself, as the Scripture tells us both in Daniel and in Revelation. And I understand that this is speculation at this point in time on my part, but I do think it's quite possible that Neom could start out as the capital city of the Antichrist in the future, but then upon the conquest of Jerusalem, then decree Jerusalem as his new capital, and then because of the Caliphate kingdom's hatred of the harlot city, they will burn Neom and destroy it. That is the ultimate destiny of Mystery Babylon. Remember, the harlot rides the beast, but the beast hates the harlot. And I can't get into all the particulars of that right now, because I am running out of time. But I want to lay this out there for you to ponder, for you to think about. Now let me mention this, because this is a salient point. Some object to the idea of an Islamic city being called the harlot city because they base it upon a faulty idea that only an apostate Christian or Jewish city can be called a harlot. But that's flat out false. God calls Tyre in Isaiah 23. He condemns Tyre for her harlotries. And Nineveh, he calls them harlot cities. And interestingly enough, considering Nineveh was built by Nimrod as well as Babylon. The king of Tyre is symbolic of Satan and the Antichrist. Speaking of Nineveh, there's this little reference prophecy regarding the Antichrist. You hardly ever hear anybody mention this prophecy in Nahum 1:11. The prophet Nahum 1:11 says this: "From you," and he's speaking about Nineveh, "from you comes forth one who plots evil against the Lord, a wicked counselor." The Hebrew there for wicked counselor is Belial. Belial, a devil, son of a devil. Similar language is used of Nineveh that is used of Mystery Babylon. It says in Nahum, because of the multitude of harlotries of the seductive harlot, the mistress of sorceries, who sells nations through her harlotries and families through her sorceries. Behold, I am against you, says the Lord of hosts. And he destroys Nineveh. There is a demonic spiritual connection that ties Babel and Babylon and Nineveh and Tyre when you read them together, and Mystery Babylon. There's an Antichrist spirit behind all of them. The son of Belial. Isaiah 23, Ezekiel 28, which talks about the prince of Tyre, who's a picture of the Antichrist, and then the king of Tyre, who's a picture of Satan. They are called out for their harlotries and their sorceries, and they all sought to usurp the throne of God. Let me look at the time here. I only got a couple of minutes left. We read in Revelation, And the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, that's the kingdom of the Antichrist, these will hate the harlot and make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his purpose to be of one mind and to give their kingdom to the beast. And that beast declares himself as God in keeping with Daniel, where he magnifies himself above every god. In Daniel, he speaks blasphemies against the God of gods, the Antichrist is spoken of in Daniel chapter 11. The Antichrist is spoken of that Paul reflected back to in Daniel in 2 Thessalonians when he says, let no one deceive you by any means. For that day, the day of the Lord, will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God and that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And John affirms the same thing in Revelation 13, who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him. And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. This all reflects back on Daniel and Isaiah and Ezekiel. The things they are planning for Neom sound fantastical. They sound like science fiction. A world-class university with holographic teachers, robot servants in hotels. Everything will be controlled by AI within the mega city. It'll make Chinese surveillance state look like child's play. Everyone's biometric health data will be tracked in AI data systems. I grant you, to some degree, I'm speculating, I admit that, as to how these things will play out. Yet having said that, I am speculating within the parameters of the scripture based on what is there. I know the scenario I have laid out raises many questions, and it should raise many questions. Will they succeed in obtaining their goals? Will their new future dream city become a reality? Only time will tell, of course. But they have a game plan, and they're implementing it. And I'm reminded what God said when that original Tower of Babel was built. He said, let us go down and confound their language, lest there is nothing that they cannot be able to do. We've come full circle, folks, and I think a new Babel is being built. And there's a lot to say about it, but I'm out of time, and I've got to go. We'll have to revisit this again. Stick around. What's coming up here on Faith FM. In the meantime, watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, be strong, and let all that you do be done in love, brothers and sisters. I've got to go. Tune in next week. I'm going to have Daniel Seckham with me.